When you think of Mario Kart, you probably think of one thing: multiplayer. The game is notoriously popular both in online play and also as a fun party game to play at home with friends.
So that's what I'm going to be doing today, playing Mario Kart with friends. Guys?
Uh-oh, I forgot. I don't have any friends. But I still want to play with more than just myself, so what if I played as both player 1 and player 2? Now, the idea of playing two games at once with a single controller is by no means new. It's been done time and time again and will likely be done again in the future. But what if I played the same game as two players with a single controller? This means that both karts would be in the same race together, and I'd not only need to watch out for computers, but also myself.
Wait, did I just red shell myself?
Normally this type of thing wouldn't be possible, but thanks to some programming magic and a nifty device created by a good friend named Conflurpin, we can make this dream a reality. Today's mission is to beat every Grand Prix in the original non-DLC cups of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but in two-player mode. Now, to make it even more difficult, let's add a few extra rules. First of all, both players 1 and 2 must get at least the top 3 finish in order for a cup to count. Second, every attempt at a cup, I'll be using a randomly selected character and kart combination, just so I can never fully develop muscle memory. And finally, I must successfully complete a cup before I can move on. That means that if I fail on the same 4 tracks for 5 hours, then so be it. Welcome to my personal version of Mario Kart Purgatory. Let's get started. Our journey begins in the Mushroom Cup, a fairly straightforward set of tracks meant to primarily show off what Mario Kart 8 is capable of. Now, generally speaking, these tracks are nothing to worry about, or at least you'd think. But with a challenge like this, I quickly learned that even the simplest of tracks would bring in their own set of challenges.
The hard part of what we're doing here is when the karts get disconnected. See, it's pretty easy when they're in sync, because when they're synced up, when you turn one direction, you're kind of turning for both. And I don't really know the best approach for this, but what I've kind of seen is these big turns are where you want to really try to get these guys synced up. Third and second, looking good, as long as I dodged. I thought I dodged the banana peel, but I went into it. Second and fifth is not great, but that is a decent start. That's a decent start. I think we can work with this. One of the biggest issues we had when I was trying to figure this out was how do we approach these big turns? And I think the reality is you just need to pay attention to the one that's further behind. So right now, I think the focus needs to be on right Lemmy, especially because he got 5th last time. Look at him. My dudes are synced up here. Nice.
Despite a shaky start as I got a feel for what to expect, things were going reasonably well, all things considered. But on track 3, disaster struck. Everything started out great with lap 1 going near flawlessly. But right as I was approaching the finish line, you could begin to see some cracks in the armor already. All it took was one single shell to completely desync my characters, and everything devolved into chaos.
They're on different paths. Oh, crap. This is worst case scenario. Okay, maybe we can get... Can this guy save himself? Okay, that's not great.
While I did manage to hold on to a top 3 spot for both characters going into the final track, this course was a very rude awakening that just maybe I might have gotten myself in over my head. Oh, and also that tracks with multiple paths are probably the worst thing ever created, and whoever's idea it was to make such a thing should feel bad. Why wouldn't you consider my stupid challenge that I'm doing a decade after you made these tracks when you... What? In the final track in the cup, things got even more chaotic.
Okay, our Lemmies are majorly out of sync at the moment. I think I blued myself.
After running through some quick mental math, I knew player 1 had a pretty comfortable spot in the top 3 already, so I decided to ignore them entirely, just to ensure player 2 ended this race on a high note. I play video games weird all the time, but completely ignoring the game at all with one of the players just felt wrong. It almost felt like I wasn't even playing Mario Kart anymore, but instead some type of weird real-time strategy game that just happened to take place in the Mario Kart universe.
Okay, so now we're putting our attention back to the left side guy. Okay, 11th. This is gonna be close, dude. I don't know if the left side Lemmy is enough. No, dude. Wait. It's a tie. We still have 3rd. It's fine. It's fine.
To put it into perspective, if player 1 hadn't passed Baby Mario in the final moments of the last race in the cup, I would have ended a point short. Yeah, it really was that close. And this was just the beginning. Coming up second was the Flower Cup, which on the surface seems fairly unassuming, and if you were playing Mario Kart normally, you'd be right. But this was no normal Mario Kart, and after just barely surviving the Mushroom Cup, I knew things would only ramp up from here. And almost immediately, my suspicions became a reality.
This is such a hard one, though, because of these sharp turns. No, don't get shelled, right side Link. Oh, now the other guy's getting shelled. It's going to crap. We're hitting all the banana peels. Dude, it's all falling apart. It's okay. We can still win. I thought this one would be free. Okay, look at this. Right outside the podium, man. Wait, okay, what if I change it to this? Pay attention to the rules at the bottom. Whoa, we did it, dude! Top 12!
Nah, but to be honest, in the moment, while I did laugh it off, I had some real doubts about whether or not a challenge of this magnitude would even be possible. These were supposed to be the easy cups, so if I was struggling now, then maybe I'd need to tone this whole thing down big time, or just make a new challenge altogether. I mean, look, there's no shame in trying something and having it not work out, I do that all the time. But I decided I'd give this at least a few more tries before I made that decision, so I dove back in quick and tried not to think about it as much.
Maybe it was the cart combination and our character. Give me someone better than Link, please. Let's go back in. Oh, the dong. Okay, alright, I see you. LDK, you're hitting everything. RDK, now you're hitting other stuff too. LDK, it always is looking good until it starts to fall apart. It's basically what I'm saying here is, dude, RDK, you hit LDK with the fire flowers. Okay, how are we looking here? 4th and 5th. No, don't pump your arms like that's good. That's not good.
On the second track, Toad Harbor, things weren't looking great either, but just as the final lap was coming to a close, the unthinkable happened.
Okay, I've got a mushroom on 1. What? What? That was an insane comeback. Nice moves, Kong.
It was going to be tight, but just maybe this attempt would be salvageable. Unfortunately, what was a smooth, twisted mansion quickly devolved into chaos in the final moments.
Dude, I'm getting Mario Karted. LDK, hold it together, man. Stay strong. Oh no, it's going to crap. Okay, second. Get second, lock it in. No. 3rd and what? Oh, that's rough.
But despite that, the leaderboard showed signs of hope. First place was basically out of the equation, but if I could just pull out a top 2 finish on Shy Guy Falls, then maybe this whole thing would be possible.
Okay, we can do this. Last time they got desynced. If they desync, it's over. Okay, I think the Kongs are synced. The Kongs have stabilized. Wait, this part right here is why it's so hard, I think. The boost panels, man. Like, look, if you don't hit the boost panels at all, you just fall so far behind. That was good. No, I bananaed myself again. Dang it, RDK. What are you doing, man? Is it going to crap? Dude, it's falling apart. Dude, RDK, what the heck was that? This man is the worst.
Despite a strong performance for the majority of the track, in the final lap, a banana peel placed by myself forced an insurmountable desync, and everything quickly fell apart on the back half of the lap, causing one player to fall short of a top 3 spot by just a single point. Oddly enough, though, this attempt fueled me with determination. I mean, think about it. If I didn't do this stupid challenge that I came up with myself that I probably made too hard, then who would? Nobody. On my 3rd attempt, I randomed into one of the goats.
Ooh, Toad coming out. Maybe this is what we've needed the whole time. Maybe we needed Toad. Let's go. The Toads have done it. Dude, look at this run by the Toad squad. This might be our best performance yet. The Toads are owning.
But despite a strong initial showing by him, I still had to get through the final boss, Shy Guy Falls. Regardless of how good of a run I had going, this track had proven to wreak havoc on both of my previous attempts, so if I let my guard down here, then even a strong start wouldn't be enough to save me.
We are doing pretty decent this time around. Right when I said that, one got banana peeled and the other one got shelled. first and then went immediately into 10th. Honestly, the guy on the right, though, doesn't really matter at this point. I think he's fine. So I need to get the left guy back in check. That is the main priority here. We might just say screw the right toad. They're too far desynced at this point. I just have to focus on left toad. The load. If we get a first place with him here, I think we might have this secured. Okay, I think he's locked it in. Can this guy catch up at all? Even at 11th, it would be good just to make sure. One extra point can be the difference sometimes. Bonds, get back here, Bonds! Okay, did we do it though? Did we do it? We've done it. Mission accomplished.
Maybe this thing would be possible after all. Now, at this point, I'm pretty sure you're more than aware of all of the strategies being used here. Manage the desync between characters, watch out for item usage, try to stay on the same path, and pay attention to overall placement to make decisions mid-race. With all of that in mind, let's look at the facts here. Going into the Star Cup, the third in this 12 Cup gauntlet, over an hour had already passed. With the tracks likely going to only ramp up from here, I knew that this would be at least a 10-hour endeavor, but I knew that the more cups I completed, the more emotionally attached I'd become to the challenge, and the less I'd want to give up on it. I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. This cup also took a few attempts, and while they were close, nothing really super exciting happened in them. And on my third attempt with Baby Rosalina, I crushed.
Baby Rosalina is just like the most cursed thing in existence, dude. I just hate babies. I'm not a kid person. I can't deal with them until they're like 4 years old and I can actually have a conversation with them. For the first 3 years of their life, what are they doing? Maybe they need to like get good. Maybe they should go get a job.
But more importantly, I was actually having a lot of fun. Going into the Special Cup, I had now fully made up my mind. I was going to finish this. Little did I know what was to come. Before we get into the Special Cup, I think it's important everyone is clear on the order I was attempting these. My plan was to do all of the Nitro Cups, which spans the Mushroom through Special, then all of the Retro, which spans the Shell through Lightning, and end with the final 4 original DLC Cups. I didn't realize it at the time, but this meant that Cup 4, this Special Cup, was actually one of, if not the hardest cup in the entire bunch. It includes not only tracks filled with hazards and cloud-top crews and bone-dry dunes, but some of the most difficult to navigate tracks with Bowser's Castle and Rainbow Road, both of which giving you ample opportunity to slam into walls, fly off the edge, and a bunch of nasty stuff that would otherwise just make controlling 2 players incredibly difficult. However, in my head, this was just another cup, so I pranced into it expecting more of what I'd experienced so far. Which might have been quite possibly the worst decision I could have ever made.
Okay, this run is looking cursed. How do I even save this?
On my first attempt, I finished the first race in the cup, Cloud Top Cruise, with the worst combined placement that I had received on any individual track in the entire run, by far.
No, I think we can bring it back.
And the second track, Bone Dry Dunes, wasn't much better.
No, they're desynced. How did you end up? I was holding right. How did you end up on the left? You absolute dingus. No, you hit bombs.
While I did sort of redeem myself on Bowser's Castle, neither players 1 or 2 were anywhere close to a top 3 finish. And then we reached Rainbow Road, where everything was surprisingly going pretty well.
Oh, nice. We have good sync here on Rainbow Road. I thought Rainbow Road would be problematic, but maybe it actually will be good.
Until it wasn't.
Okay, this part's a little awkward because these guys are desynced. Oh, God. Where are we? Where are we? I mean, it's still winnable. No, it's not copium. We can win. No, we can do it. Trust me. I boosted into the William.
My final score on attempt 1 of the Special Cup was 27 for both players, which seems good until you realize that it was 17 points away from 3rd place, let alone 1st. So I tried again, this time with Iggy. And again, came up short, with both players not even breaking into the top 3 a second time. At this point, my brain was cooked, and I needed to rethink my strategies and regroup, so I called it for the night. After about a week of rest, I returned back again, ready to pick back up where I left off. And again, I was slapped in the face, with my first attempt of day 2 going even worse than the attempts I had made the previous day. But it's okay, because I was just warming up, right? So I tried again, and again, and again, and yet I just couldn't seem to break through. The hours and the attempts began to pile up as I went from character to character, cart to cart, but it just seemed as if every attempt came up short, and always for a different reason. It really felt as if stringing together the perfect run would be truly impossible. With every run, I tried my hardest, but with every run, I lost hope. Maybe that decision I made after the Star Cup to continue the run was a mistake after all. Then, on attempt number 14, something magical happened. On this attempt, I was to use Link in the Mach 8 with the Leaf Tires and the Hylian Glider, a fairly uncommon combo and one that I didn't particularly have a lot of faith in. This was far from a meta combination, and my brain was already fatigued from grinding the same 4 tracks all night. But as I eased into the first race, everything seemed to click.
Okay, this is it, right here. Let's go Lonk, and Lonk.
A rough early start on Cloud Top Cruise turned around just at the closing moments, allowing player 1 to come in first and player 2 to come in 6th. It wasn't perfect by any means, but at least it had some potential. On Bone Dry Dunes, things went similarly. A rough start on the first 2 laps, with everything beginning to come together on lap 3.
Roy? Oh, the long-range green shell snipe onto Roy, that's huge.
In fact, as I reached the halfway point in the final lap, I was in the best possible position, first and second. Then, right at the split paths towards the end of the track, disaster happened.
No, we have a desync. This is worst case scenario.
Miraculously, even though the two had gotten desynced right at the split, they both managed to make it through each side into the glider section at roughly the same spot, essentially syncing them back up.
Blue shell potential.
Just as they both began to drift around the final turn in the track, player 1 slammed into one of the few obstacles still remaining. This instantly split up the 2 racers, and a green shell that hit him shortly after further increased the gap between the 2, with player 1 ultimately coming in 6th and player 2 coming in 2nd. However, because of the results of the first race being nearly the opposite, there was still a chance here.
This is kind of a tricky situation. We've got a pretty close 1st through 5th.
On Bowser's Castle, things were equally as bumpy.
We need to sync the links again. Hey, are your links synced? What is happening, dude? How do you even get 2 shocks back to back like that?
At this point, I had attempted this exact track with these same exact rules over 10 times alone, so I had gotten fairly good at knowing where I could go and how to keep both players synced up as best as possible. Due to this, about halfway through the final lap, both player 1 and 2 were holding on to top 3 spots, until I attempted to use a mushroom with player 2 in an attempt to break away from the CPUs. I didn't realize that the player right next to him, also me, was holding a super horn, which also went off at the same time, causing him to spin out and fall behind. This opened up an angle for Yoshi to overtake both players for first, and while I recovered fairly quickly, this minor mistake cost me big time.
My links are desynced. This is chaotic. Second 6. Oh, the 6 is so bad.
Ending race 3, player 1 was in 2nd and had a 4-point lead over 3rd, and player 2 was in 5th with a 4-point gap between him and the current 3rd place, Roy. Just looking at these numbers, it seemed incredibly unlikely that it could be possible for player 2 to make it into the top 3. He'd not only need to do well in the final race, the hardest track of the entire cup, but everyone in front of him would have to do worse, including Roy, Baby Peach, and Yoshi. And even if he managed to do all of that, player 1 would still need to get a high enough placement in the track as well just to maintain his top 3 spot. It was a bit of a long shot, but it was still possible. Going into Rainbow Road, things started off rough. The first lap was an absolute disaster, with both players 1 and 2 struggling to hold position.
Dude, right side Link, can you please drift and stop getting hit by everything known to man?
But on lap 2, things began to look up.
Okay, there we go. Right side Link, are you kidding me, dude?
Until they both fell off right at the halfway point of the lap. Entering into the split path segment, both players were barely holding on to the middle of the pack. Until player 2 got some items, a star and a triple mushroom, right at the perfect moment. Just barely, he managed to make both of the jumps off of the ledge of the track to propel himself into first, right at the end of the lap. Just what he needed. Unfortunately, due to the massive desync this caused, he was forced to lose position while player 1 on the left caught back up. But those jumps did what they needed to. They gave me hope for the final lap. When I was at my lowest, mentally checked out, ready to take the L and move on, those tiny 2 shortcuts pulled me back into the race. I could do this. Going through the first few turns of lap 3, both links were synced up and first place was in sight. Just maybe it was still possible. Closing the gap further, both players went into the final section of the track in second and third, just a mere CPU ahead of them. And then they had done it. First and second synced up right at the end of the race. All they needed to do was hold on a bit longer and then...
Is that enough? Boom! There it is, dude. Mission accomplished.
I had done it on what I expected to be essentially a throwaway attempt with an unlikely character and cart combination. I had pulled it off just at the last second. It was almost as if the planets had aligned perfectly. To make it even more crazy, player 2 passing player 1 to take first instead of second in the closing moments of the track gave him 3 additional points, making sure that there was no way that Roy would be able to keep him out of the top 3 regardless of his final placement. And that's where our story comes to a close. Or at least, that's what I would have said if I didn't still have 8 cups to go. Surely with this out of the way, nothing else bad would happen though, right? After taking a short break to recover from the insane burnout I'd experienced from playing the same 4 Mario Kart tracks for 4 hours, I picked back up the challenge a week later, ready to tackle the Retro Cups. And I destroyed them. I'm not sure if it's because all of that time I spent on the Special Cup had prepared me for anything at this point, or if these guys were genuinely easy, but I'll spare you the details. I blew past these guys with no issues whatsoever, beating all of them on my first try and even earning a star on one of the players in the Leaf Cup, meaning I consistently placed high on all 4 tracks and ended with over 54 points. Coming out of the high of a long streak of perfect attempts, I only had 4 cups remaining. These cups were all a part of the original DLC released for Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U back in the day, and because of that, all have some pretty gnarly courses that could create some major issues in closing out this challenge. The Egg Cup brings in the super windy tracks of Dragon Driftway and Mute City, the Crossing Cup brings in the super chaotic Baby Park, the Triforce Cup brings in Wario's Gold Mine as well as Ice Ice Outpost, and finally, the Bell Cup, well, basically everything in the Bell Cup is a nightmare. The first cup from these 4 that I attempted was the Egg Cup, and I'm not gonna lie, I got slapped hard.
Don't get bananaed. No, that's bad. Okay, we got our work cut out for us on this one.
My first attempt at these tracks was with Rosalina in the GLA, a heavy character in a cart with notoriously bad acceleration, which made every hit by either player create an even more severe desync. And let me tell you, desyncs on tracks with as many turns as Dragon Driftway and Mute City have are a recipe for disaster.
How are you going the wrong way, dude? We have smart steering.
Because of this, I'm not sure if it was the cart and the character combination, the tracks themselves, or if I had just gotten complacent, but I got demolished, with neither player finishing in a top 3 spot. I did manage to clutch up on my second attempt and beat the cup with Bowser Jr. at the last second on Mute City.
Here we go. The blue's going out. The blue actually will be clutch, I think. Wait, the shocks. There's a bunch of crap happening. 4-5, 4-5, 4-6. Is that good enough? I don't know, dude. Oh my god. We tied with Peach for 3rd to qualify. That's huge, dude.
But this was a wake-up call. Just because I had finished the Special Cup didn't mean I was out of the woods yet, despite what the Retro Cups had led me to believe. The next cup I attempted in the final 3 was the Crossing Cup. My first attempt was with Roy.
Okay, how's Baby Park gonna go on this challenge? It's gonna be very hard to not get hit by crap. That's the main concern. The fact that they're only right turns does make it not as terrible. Wait, we're kind of owning. Wait a minute. 1-3. Actually pretty good. Oh, nice. Somehow that guy didn't get chomped. But he got shelled. 7-3. Ooh. 3-6? No.
While I did come up short, one of the players made it into the top 3 and the other was just outside of it.
And now it's playing the depressing music from Brewster's Coffee. I don't want to hear that.
Then I followed up that attempt with Link, the savior of the Special Cup.
Dude, I just got a double bomb on myself. That might have been the worst play of all time right there.
Where I again came up short by a single place.
Man.
On my third attempt, I tried the cup with Bowser, and this one went even worse.
Dude, I'm getting blasted right now. Oh!
There were so little redeeming qualities about this try that I didn't even bother to play it all the way through. To put it simply, this was alarming. Playing the same 4 tracks for hours on end is maddening enough, but to have to do that on Baby Park of all things, I wasn't sure my brain could handle it. Fortunately, on my 4th and final attempt of the night with Baby Mario, finally, everything came together and I was able to coast into a pretty comfortable finish on all of these cups.
Oh, barely, but we're in there. 1-3. We'll take it.
With only 2 cups remaining, I made the decision to come in fresh one final time to close this challenge out. Booting up the stream for what I hoped was the very last time, I came in today for Rejuvenated. I knew that there were only 2 cups, 8 races, standing between me and freedom, and if everything went perfectly, then I could be out of here within 15 minutes of going live. The first cup that I had to tackle today was the Triforce Cup, and looking at the tracks here, I had every right to be afraid. Going into the first race on Wario's Gold Mine, I could feel the nerves kicking in. With a branching path at the end, obstacles scattered all throughout the track, and many ledges which could easily spill my doom, practically nowhere on this track was safe. But surprisingly, the entire race went through with no issues.
But honestly, right now I'm kind of gapping these guys. I'm not gonna lie, we're kind of wrecking. There haven't been many shells or anything thrown at me, but, well.
1 down. The second track was SNES Rainbow Road. Now, due to the format of the challenge, falling off on ledges here wouldn't be too much of an issue. However, with a split path right at the goal, a fairly narrow track, and thwomps scattered throughout, there was still reason to be concerned here. Fortunately, everything worked out well. I ended up finishing this race in 2nd and 4th, and combining that with a strong first race, I was in a really good spot to put this cup behind me fairly quick. The third race in this cup, Ice Ice Outpost, was the one that I was the most concerned about, and the race that could make or break the one-shot potential. Pretty much the entire course spans 2 separate paths, so if I got hit at any point on this track, it could immediately create a severe desync, which could put both players very far behind. After a rough first 2 laps, I went into lap 3 concerned. Even though I had a strong start to this cup, finishing in the middle of the pack here would make the final race extremely tight, which was something I wanted to avoid at all costs.
We have to try to close the gap at some point. There it is. Third on 1. Oh, this is not great. 3-4 is not good. I mean, it's like fine, but it's bad.
Fortunately, I did manage to hold on to 2nd and 3rd overall, but it was now only by a single point. This meant that going into the final race in the Cup, Hyrule Circuit, I had 1 goal and 1 goal only. Have both players finish in front of the 4th place player, Villager. Now, Hyrule Circuit as a track isn't super difficult on its own. The track has nothing particularly tricky about it, but with the added pressure of having no other choice but to finish ahead of Villager to complete this cup, the pressure was still very real. The first lap was a bit bumpy, but going into lap 2, I had a breakaway.
First second. Nice.
But just as the final lap began, Villager made their move. Navigating through the dirt road segment with tight corners, Villager passed both players 1 and 2 for a top spot.
Oh, huge shortcut actually, but the Villager's in the lead.
Going into the castle portion of the track, I managed to hold on to 2nd and 3rd. Yet it was the Villager, the one person I couldn't allow to beat me, who cruised ahead into 1st. At this point, there was only a little bit of the final lap to go and 1 final set of item boxes. It all came down to this.
Villager got shelled. Huge.
Just like that, there was only 1 cup left. The Bell Cup. Finally, after over 10 hours of this grind, there were only 4 tracks standing between me and the finish line. But these tracks were anything but easy. To this day, the Bell Cup is feared by many, just because every single track here has countless turns, obstacles, and just generally ways to make your life particularly difficult. For my first attempt, I'd be using Waluigi in the Tri-Speeder with the GLA tires and the Gold Glider. This combo was very high in speed and weight, but very low in acceleration. This meant that if I ever got hit, the recovery time would take even longer than normal, which is the exact opposite of what I'd want for a cup this ferocious. The first race, Neo Bowser City, started off rocky, with both players 1 and 2 in 6th place or worse at the end of the first lap. Going into the second lap, things didn't really get better. As I approached the halfway point, I was in 7th and 8th, even lower than I was before. But on the final lap, it was like everything began to click at just the right moment. Thanks to a string of mushrooms from both players, as both approached the halfway point of lap 3, they surged forward. 5th place, 4th place, 3rd place, 2nd place. But then, right at the end, a shell that just barely clipped player 2 opened up the door for disaster. Fortunately, through some stroke of luck, I had grown a big enough lead from the pack that despite being shelled right at the finish line, I was still able to come in at a respectable 2nd and 4th place. It wasn't perfect, but it was workable. Next up was Ribbon Road. This track began similarly, with both players 1 and 2 struggling in the middle of the pack for the majority of the race. But just when it looked like history was going to repeat itself and both players were looking to surge ahead at the perfect moment on the final lap, a well-aimed fire flower combined with the poor acceleration of my kart combinations spelled disaster, and I struggled here, with both players coming in at 6th place or worse. Going into race 3, I was holding on to 4th and 5th place overall, which was less than ideal, but if this challenge has proven anything to me, it's that you never know what could happen. If there's a will, there's a way. Up next was Super Bell Subway. And despite a clean start and a very strong position on lap 3, my one chance at victory slipped away when I managed to destroy my own red shell.
My green shell hit my red shell, so nothing happened, and then Toadette mushroomed. This is a scam.
I was in shambles. I went ahead and played out the final race just to get a taste of what I could expect on Big Blue, one of the craziest tracks in the game, but at this point, my brain was focused on the next attempt. Going into attempt 2, I was praying for a workable kart combination. During my first attempt, the one thing that continued to rear its head up and cause issues on every single track was the slow acceleration that I had before. If I could just get a decent kart combination, I'd already be in a better spot than last run. On attempt 2, I rolled Lemmy in the sneaker with the retro off-road tires and the flower glider. This combination wasn't perfect, but it was miles ahead of what I had before. This could work. Immediately on the first race, I could notice a difference. Acceleration was much better, handling felt very smooth, but even if I had the best combination in the world, I still had to perform. After an early lead on lap 1, lap number 2 was rough.
We're still kind of fighting. Dude, it's like every time I say anything, I didn't even finish saying the sentence, and then what happened? Blasted.
Going into the final lap, things weren't looking much better. I had managed to fight my way up to 3rd and 4th with both players, but I wasn't sure that that'd be good enough. Then, on the final turn of the entire race, with both 2nd and 1st in sight, I pulled a red shell, which proceeded to hit a banana peel. I did manage to squeeze past one of them right at the end and secure myself 2nd and 3rd, but I could have had so much more. On Ribbon Road, things got even better. I'm not sure if it was the planets aligning or what, but not only did I have a strong first 2 laps, with both players maintaining top 3 spots, a breakaway on the final lap and no real obstacles allowed me to slide in at 1st and 2nd, meaning that halfway through the cup, both players were in top 3 positions overall. All I had to do now was close this out. Going into Super Bell Subway, I couldn't help but think about how this was where everything went wrong in my previous attempt.
All right, I just need to not throw it on this track. I hate this track. If I did a tier list of every Mario Kart track, this is probably my bottom 5.
But I tried to push those thoughts out of my mind as I settled into the race.
Dude, I literally just double hit myself. One of the red shells hit my other guy, and then the banana hit that guy.
Lap 1 was nothing special, with both players holding on to 4th and 5th. Not great, but not terrible. But then on lap 2, I watched in horror as history began to repeat itself. Both players got hit with a blue shell, and then shortly after, player 1 got hit with a bomb as well, not only setting them both back by a significant amount, but also desyncing them quite a bit. Then, just as they were beginning to sync back up, player 1 again got hit by a bomb, and then a red shell, all while player 2 surged forward, causing the gap between them to widen further. To make up for this, I attempted to focus on player 1 just long enough to bring the two back together. But while I was doing that, player 2 got hit by a shell, forcing him back as well. Before I knew it, lap 2 was coming to a close with both players well out of the running for top positions with only one lap to go. But then, at the beginning of lap 3, a miracle happened. Almost simultaneously, a shock and a blue shell went out. Normally, if I was in a top position, I'd be distraught over this. But since I was so far behind, both of these opened up a massive opportunity for a comeback. And after picking up a triple mushroom on player 2 right at the first set of item boxes on the final lap, I did just that, soaring into first and second for the first time in the entire race. Now all I had to do was close it out. As long as I could just nail the final turn, then just maybe...
Oh my god, that was a disaster. We were in 1-2 and we ended 2-4. What a bad final turn.
I had blown it. Or at least, that's what I thought at first. But when the standings came up, I realized that there was still a chance. My goal at this point was very clear. Get player 2 into a top spot no matter the cost.
Okay, we can't let this opportunity slip. This is big. This is huge, actually. Might be the most insane, the most important, impactful race of the night. I don't think I can entirely tank placement on the left guy, but I think the right side guy is going to be my main priority. I'm just going to put most of my attention on him this race. So far, we're looking good. This is dangerous, man. This is so dangerous. I don't know how this is going to work out. I'm putting a lot of stock in the right side guy getting first. This is what happens when you ignore one of the guys, though, in case you're wondering. My hope is maybe I can get enough of a lead with this guy that he can get first, and then I'll have time with the other guy to catch back up. He doesn't need, like, a perfect placement. He just needs, like... something that's not last. Oh, nice. William's huge, actually. Give me something, give me something, give me something. What are we cooking? What are we cooking? Okay, wait a minute. 7th place, maybe doable. Oh my god, I'm a strategic legend.
It was over. I had done it. Somehow, despite holding on to a 12th place position on player 1 almost the entire duration of this final race, a stroke of insane item luck and a blue shell right at the finish line allowed for both players to hold on to top 3 spots by just a single point.
Anyways, that's all I got for now. I gotta get back to playing Mario Kart with my friends.